All right, so a week or so ago, we covered a story that there was another man who was deported to El Salvador CECOT, aka slave labor camp, that was also illegally deported there. But let's be honest, everyone being sent there, it's illegally, they're illegally sent there. Like, they don't have any due process, and you're sending them to, like, the worst prison on the planet. So let's be clear. And sorry for the background noise, Luna is going crazy again. So, from The Guardian, identity of second man illegally deported to El Salvador prison revealed. So, this is the second person that a judge has actually ruled that, like, hey, you need to bring this guy back. Let's read. The identity of a second man illegally deported from the U.S. by the Trump administration in defiance of a court order and now in detention in El Salvador has been revealed. Daniel Lozano-Camargo, a 20-year-old Venezuelan, was deported to El Salvador's notorious CECOT terrorism confinement facility. In March, under the White House invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, Politico reported, Jesus, man, I'm reading like I'm fucking hammered. Gee, all right. His deportation came after authorities declared him, along with 240 other men, to be members of Tren de Aragua, a Venezuelan gang that the U.S. government has defined as a terrorist organization. Lozano-Camargo's family members deny that he has gang affiliations. Politico revealed Lozano-Camargo's identity after a Maryland judge last month ruled that the Trump administration had improperly removed him in violation of a 2024 legal settlement that forbade immigration authorities from deporting him while his application for asylum was pending. Yeah, so just ignoring the law again. Like, and let's be clear, even if any of these people didn't have withholding orders, this is still illegal. You can't just send people. This isn't some normal deportation, okay? Like, let me be clear. They are being sentenced to life in prison in what is an extermination camp. Their whole thing is once you go there, you never come out. And somehow they just keep taking in more and more people, even though they've been over capacity forever. There's been several human rights violations, dozens, if not hundreds of people confirmed dead there year to year. Like, and they also do forced labor, beatings. They have like 100 people in a cell that has like 4 mattresses and 2 toilets. Like, it's crazy. This isn't some normal deportation. It's like, oh, he got deported. What's the problem? Oh, it's blowing my mind, man. It's blowing my mind. The judge, Stephanie Gallagher, who was appointed to the bench by Trump, ordered officials to facilitate Lozano-Camargo's return to the U.S. What's with this fucking facilitate, bro? What do you mean facilitate? This just gives, it shouldn't, but it just gives the Trump administration all this illegal room to just say, yeah, we tried and we can't. So far, the administration has not complied. Like, anyways, it's interesting that this was a Trump-appointed judge. So the argument never had any standing to begin with because it was just a lie. But like all this radical left-wing judges, like, or radical left-wing lunatics is what they called them. Yeah, is this one a radical left-wing lunatic? Yeah, and none of the others were either. Their biggest targets, James Boasberg or whatever, and he's ruled in favor of Trump multiple times. One of them was in regards to his tax returns. Remember when that was a big thing? He ruled that, hey, Trump, you don't need to show your tax returns. You're good. That's up to you. So just spare me. Anytime a judge disagrees with your ruling, you can't just call them a radical left-wing lunatic, especially when you can look at their previous rulings and see that's not the case. Anyways, I digress. He is reported to have entered the U.S. in 2022 as an asylum seeker, initially spending time in a facility for underage migrants until he turned 18. According to Politico, he was subsequently twice arrested for possession of cocaine, most recently last November, and was sentenced in January to 120 days in prison. It was from there that he was transferred to the custody of Immigration's Customs and Enforcement Authority, ICE, which filed an application for his detention, claiming that he was in the country illegally. So, they just lied. He was here as an asylum seeker, and when you're going through the process of getting that asylum status, whether it ends up being approved or not, you have a legal status to be here. You don't have to like that legal status. You don't have to necessarily agree with it, but you have to abide by it because that's the law. Like, in her ruling, Gallagher agreed with immigrant rights advocates that Lozano-Camargo should not have been deported until his asylum application was resolved, while withholding his identity by referring to him only as the pseudonym Christian. She said he was fleeing danger and threats in Venezuela. Politico said Lozano-Camargo's identity was disclosed and metadata embedded in government court filings. A Justice Department court filing released on Monday disputed the judge's assessment, saying he belonged to a violent terrorist gang, thus disqualifying him from asylum in the U.S. Bringing him back to the U.S. would no longer serve any legal, practical purpose, Justice Department lawyers wrote. Gallagher was due to further rule in the matter in a Baltimore court Tuesday. Lozano-Camargo's case resembles that of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, which we have covered a lot on this channel. A Maryland resident who was deported to El Salvador in March, despite a previous court order issued in 2019 establishing that he had protected status because he was at risk of violence if he was returned to the country of his origin. Abrego Garcia is Salvadorian by birth. The U.S. government, which has claimed that he is a member of MS-13, completely not true. Something Abrego Garcia denies, admitted that he had been deported by mistake, but has defied court orders to return him to the U.S. Abrego Garcia was removed from the U.S. on the same set of flights as Lozano-Camargo, but has been transferred from CECOT. Yeah, he was, and we covered this too, Abrego Garcia. Thankfully, it was at least transferred away from CECOT to another facility. But it still doesn't change the fact that he has to be brought home for several legal reasons. Lozano-Camargo's family had tried to draw attention to his plight in social media posts. His mother, Daniela, has proclaimed his innocence in a tearful Facebook video. Possessing a valid work permit, he is said to have been living in Houston and washing cars for a living before his detention. His deportation was among those highlighted by The Guardian in March amid speculation that he was one of hundreds of Venezuelans singled out for removal on the basis of their tattoos, which authorities claimed identified them as members of Tren de Aragua. Lozano-Camargo is said to have several tattoos, including one bearing the name of his father, who died when he was a child. Critics say Tren de Aragua members do not use tattoos to advertise their membership of the gang. I don't know if that's true, right? I thought like actual, or no, it might be MS-13. Never mind. Forget what I'm saying. I just wanted to get a criminal history. It already touched on the cocaine possession. We'll go over that again, and I will give you my thoughts on that. But I just wanted to prompt our good MAGA consultant, ChatGPT, to see if there's anything we missed. So let's read. Daniel Lozano-Camargo, a 20-year-old Venezuelan asylum seeker, was deported from the United States to El Salvador in March 2025, despite illegal blah, blah, blah. And let's see, criminal history. In June 2024, he was arrested in Houston for possessing between 1 and 4 grams of cocaine. In November 2024, he faced another arrest for possessing less than a gram of cocaine. This man, he loves his cocaine. So, if you know anything about my stances, I am for, at the very least, decriminalizing all drugs. You should not be facing prison time in any capacity for possessing or using drugs. Your body, your choice. Distribution, etc. We can have another discussion about that. But I am very pro-drug. I love drugs, okay? Sue me. So, but let's say you don't share my position and you are really against drugs, especially harder drugs like cocaine. Is the appropriate punishment being deported to a terrorism confinement center where it is verifiably reported that people go there to die? They die there. They're forced in hard labor conditions. They face tortures, beatings from the guards, sleep deprivation. They're packed like sardines. We're talking 100 plus people to a small cell that has 2 toilets and like 4 mattresses if you're lucky. So think about it, okay? For in the same case for Abrego Garcia, I'm not necessarily defending the man, okay? I'm defending due process and rule of law, and to some degree, basic humanity. So this is, I'm sorry, but like, even if he's distributing cocaine, all right, terrorism confinement center, a slave labor camp, sorry, no. If you wanted to deport him back then for this, even though I'm not sure of the legality of that because of the asylum seeking status and then having possession of cocaine, I'm not sure how that works. Whatever, regardless. I don't necessarily support deportation for that either. I think holding them in a U.S. jail as opposed to deporting them to some random country or their home country is preferable. But I digress. My point here is possessing cocaine does not equal slave labor camp. And if you're going to send anyone to a slave labor camp, which I'm against across the board, no matter who they are, there should at least be due process. Deportation and legal dispute. Despite having a valid work permit and pending asylum application, Lozano-Camargo was deported under the Trump administration's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, which targeted Venezuelan nationals. And yeah, this is all we know. So yeah, as far as we know, possessing some cocaine. As I said, I am for decriminalizing all drugs, legalizing a lot of drugs in that to that point. So, but even if you do have a stance against drugs, which I'm not bashing you, I'm just stating my opinion. This you should at least agree, like, hey, this doesn't warrant being sent to a death camp. Again, no one should be sent there, but like, Jesus Christ, man. And then this just came out. Trump administration plans to send migrants to Libya on a military flight. The Trump administration is planning to transport a group of immigrants to Libya on a U.S. military plane, according to U.S. officials. Another sharp escalation in the deportation program that has sparked widespread legal challenges and intense political debate. The nationalities of the migrants were not immediately clear, but a flight to Libya carrying their deportees could leave as soon as Wednesday, according to the officials who spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the operation. The decision to send deportees to Libya was striking. The country is raked with conflict, and human rights groups have called the conditions in its network of migrant detention centers horrific and deplorable. So are we sending them to migrant detention centers in freaking Libya? How is anyone okay with this? Okay? Like, please tell me how this is okay. Again, even if these were actual criminals, I'm sorry, but sending them there's an amendment, there's a constitution for this called Protection Against Cruel and Unusual Punishment. To that regard, this is definitely cruel and unusual punishment. And by the way, the Constitution due process applies to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. It doesn't matter if you're undocumented. It doesn't matter if you're a green card holder, student visa, tourist visa, work visa, whatever. Okay? Like, these are basic rights, human rights that everyone in this country has. And we are just completely ignoring that. And if there's not due process for any of these random ass deportations, it can happen to you. It can happen to U.S. citizens. Because if there's no due process, you don't get a chance to prove you're a U.S. citizen. And we've already had this administration definitely do some strong hints and not flat out say that, yeah, we're looking into U.S. citizens yet. Oh, only the worst ones. Only the worst ones. Even though that was the rhetoric behind in illegal immigrants. It was only the violent ones. Well, that changed real quick when they realized that, hey, there's just not that many violent immigrants. And we've gone over the studies 100 times, and it backs it up. Immigrants are less likely, both documented and undocumented, less likely to commit crime across the board than U.S. citizens. Anyways, I am done rambling. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.